the Craft and Glory combat boot in British tan waxed buffalo hide. Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Dale of Dale's Leatherworks. In today's video, we're talking about an extremely amazing pair of boots, combat boots to be more specific. These were sent to me by my friends at Craft and Glory to review, and I actually had a real boot talk with Rohit and KB of Craft and Glory. They're both super cool guys. I found out a lot about their operation. I'm really excited about what they're doing. They're both very passionate about their designs, and they're both very excited to be in this space. They are just as big of nerds as you and I are. If you're watching this channel and you love heritage workwear, these two guys are absolutely nailing it. They're paying homage to the patterns and the styles from the days long gone by, and they are bringing it back. And I was most surprised to hear that probably 3/4 of their sales are within the Indian market itself. So Indian customers are actually taking to this stuff. So that's, to me, very cool. I love to see that. You know, we're all aware that it happened in Japan and in Indonesia and places like that, but I had no idea that the trend was getting started in India as well. So super cool to see the styles and the clothing and the gear that we love is being enjoyed by people the world over. We could all appreciate it. So let's talk about this build. This is the third boot that I have in this amazing British tan waxed buffalo leather. I actually found out from the makers themselves that this is a leather specific to their brand. You will not get it from any other maker. You can't order this stuff online, and you know what? I say good on them, because some of the most successful and prominent names in the footwear scene, actually, they have proprietary leathers that they use. They strike up deals with tanneries, and they get leathers going in a particular color and in a particular tannage, and the tannery makes a deal with the maker that they'll sell that exclusively to them. So it's not like Horween Chrome Excel where anybody could order that, right? This is something exclusive to Craft and Glory. You will not find anything like this from anybody else. And if you're thinking that this is just a cool looking reddish leather, I can assure you it's far different from other leathers that I have in this colorway. For example, these Truman boots here in Galloon's Cinnamon Horsehide is a red boot, but as you can see, the character is completely different compared to the Craft and Glories. The character is of course very artisanal. The tannage is extremely small batch. Amazing character honeycombing on the boots because it is horsehide and it is shrunken. That's an example of a red boot. Here's another example of a red pair of Truman boots. So this is going to be in Mariam's Ruggine horse rump. It's taken me a good 5 years to learn how to pronounce that properly. Ruggine is Italian for rust. This also is horse butt, but as you can see, compared to the other horse butt, the cinnamon horse butt, this horse butt is Italian made and far different. It looks more like a standard smooth leather. So the difference between those and this, obviously, and I've said it in other videos, so forgive me for saying it again, but the follicle marks. Apparently, I learned this from KB at Craft and Glory, that the follicle marks are a particular characteristic to the Asiatic water buffalo found in India. Apparently they don't sweat, and apparently they're very mean. Their hides are naturally waterproof by their very nature because they don't have sweat glands. So just as rough and mighty as those animals are, so too is the leather. I gotta say, these tore my feet up when I wore them. The first 3 wears, I would say, with that rough out on the inside, because these are unlined, the first 3 wears were kind of rough. I had to take breaks. I had to put some band-aids on my heels because it was kind of digging into them. But now that they're broken in, I've dedicated all my wear this past week to these, as well as to these Craft and Glory engineer boots in the same leather. And just look at how these have patinaed up, and now they're just so comfortable. It's amazing. Yes, this leather is very special. I threw in a set of burgundy rawhide laces in there just to complement the colorway. The Craft and Glory laces that came with these were amazing, but I'm just a nerd. I'm just a fiend for rawhide laces. I love them. I love the way that they lace up. They're comfortable. The leather relaxes just like the leather in the boot relaxes. The leather and the laces relax and really make for a nice ergonomic lace. So let's talk about the build a little bit. So we've got an amazing cap toe. It is indeed very structured. The cap toe is quadruple stitched down. We've got a rivet here and a rivet here affixing the top quarters to the vamp. I love the look of rivets. Can't get over that. We've got antique eyelets. So glad that on this taller boot, so this is an 8-inch boot, I'm so glad that they put speed hooks at the top. That really makes getting in and out of them a breeze. The back heel stay is triple stitched down, very well shaped over the last back here, as evidenced by the fact that you see this nice curvaceousness. This protrusion out here means they lasted the leather really well and shaped it really well over the last. A lesser boot would have like a straight up back heel stay. So this is nice and curvaceous back here, much more ergonomic for wear. The quarter is quadruple stitched down. And of course, most prominent to me, my favorite feature is going to be that knife sheath right there. That's what makes it a combat boot, because you can stick a knife in there. All right, so here are a couple of my WESN blades. Super badass blades. I will leave a link to WESN in the description below. These are my favorite knives. This one's in titanium, and this one is a Damasteel blade. And this one was not cheap, but very happy with this. This is the pride of my knife collection right here. Anyways, link to WESN in the description below. Check them out. They're super affordable for what you're getting. They have a really good business model to where you're not paying like small maker prices like $700-800. Instead, you're looking at $150, $200 for a standard blade. And anyways, let's see. Does my WESN Almond fit into the combat boot? Time to test it out in the old leather lab here. So, and it indeed fits. Look at that. Let's do the other one for double trouble. Awesome. That's what makes that the combat boot right there, ladies and gentlemen. Also, I learned that they have this new nitrile rubber, oil-resistant, anti-slip Craft and Glory Commando outsole. What was interesting about this is that they actually used a softer material compared to some of the other well-known sole manufacturers. Now, why that's good is because I do a lot of walking on concrete. I try to walk 20,000 steps a day. When I'm walking on concrete all day, I feel it every step. It's a shock up my spine and up my skeletal system. That's why if you're going to be walking very, very long distances, then it's ideal to actually walk on grass or on dirt, because the impact of the heel strike is much more reduced on dirt, and it's much healthier and much better, much less wear and tear on your joint. And so by incorporating this softer rubber outsole, it provides a softer strike not quite as soft as a wedge sole, but still very soft. I noticed it after he told me that the outsole is a softer compound. Not that it's going to wear down. I mean, you know, there's probably 80,000 steps on these so far. You can see the heel is not worn down at all. So it's extremely durable. Just be aware that they did opt for a more ergonomic rubber in this case. I think is a great thing. So the tongue is 3/4 gusseted all the way to the top, which is also nice. The tongue is not shifting around on me throughout the day. I do want to mention the panel of leather that they use for the knife sheath is super cool with the waxy pull-up effect. Waxy pull-up is different from oiled pull-up. All that means is as you bend the leather or as you put pressure on it, it will display a lightning effect. Now that is the result of waxy pull-up in this case. The waxes sort of break apart and expose the lighter undertones from the layers beneath, and it's just beautiful. Let's read a little bit off the specs on the website. So these are $255. That's right, cheaper than the Iron Ranger and better in my opinion. It comes in raven black, this saddle tan, comes in vintage brown, and you could also get these combat boots in 6-inch height as well. We've got a veg tan midsole, a gusseted tongue for water and dust protection, and a knife pocket. Crafted for those who brave the toughest terrains, the combat boots by Craft and Glory are built to endure, protect, and support no matter the challenge. Designed to perform under pressure, these boots combine rugged durability with timeless craftsmanship. Constructed using the time-tested Goodyear welt construction, the combat boot delivers outstanding resilience and long-lasting comfort. Made from 100% full-grain buffalo leather, they're engineered to handle demanding environments while molding perfectly to your foot over time. Key features include a veg tan midsole for enhanced durability, a gusseted tongue for water and dust protection, and a knife pocket. Every pair takes over 15 hours to craft, embodying true craftsmanship. We've got 5-ounce leather on the uppers, thick wax pull-up full grain buffalo leather. The lining is 3-ounce thick leather lining. I believe that's going to be on in the vamp, though I can't really see it. Yeah, the vamp is lined. The back heel stay and the quarters are unlined. The insole is 10 ounces, vegetable tanned insoles that you can purchase separately. The midsole is 10 ounces, thick, full vegetable tanned midsole. The welt is 7 ounces thick, full vegetable tan handmade leather welt. Steel shank for durability and strength. 100% natural cork footbed for extra comfort. The outsole is a lug commando outsole in 100% solid nitrile rubber for extra traction, and they come with waxed nylon dual tone round laces. They do offer shipping and returns. Manufactured in India by Craft and Glory, a unit of Foxglove Lifestyles Private Limited, and they just have glowing reviews on this. Also want to mention, I also have these boots in the same saddle tan wax buffalo hide leather in the hike boot model. Absolutely in love with these. I love a lace to toe. So on the inside we've got a lining on the collar. We've got Craft and Glory. It says the size 8.5, and yes, they came with an additional foam insole, foam on one side, leather on the other, as you can see there, branded Craft and Glory, stitched all around the perimeter too, double stitched in fact. These are the two nylon laces that these came with. Very nice, very rugged, durable, unbreakable nylon laces. Like I said, I'm just a sucker for rawhides. And then I also have to mention that they have some incredible leather jackets out right now. So this isn't just a boot company, they do everything. They're doing waxed jackets, 12-ounce hard waxed canvas, 13-ounce selvage denim, duck canvas, and then yes, they're doing leather jackets as well in their raven black color, in their vintage tan. Most exciting is their buco jacket for me in raven black. That is a motorcycle style jacket. That's pretty much the only style jacket that I really wear when it comes to leather jackets, just because of that beautiful taper that it has going around the abdomen. Just looks so manly and so cool. And that comes in vintage brown, vintage tan, and raven black. So I will leave a link to all that in the description below. Just be aware that if you click that link and you make a purchase, I may derive a small commission from that, but that helps this channel. It helps me create content, invest in good equipment, invest in editing and other stuff like that to bring you guys informed reviews. As an overall take on these boots, they are truly iconic. These would have been at home in the 1950s, 1940s, 1930s. I could have seen these existing back in the mining days. They're very heritage appropriate, while at the same time being just in an eye-popping leather. I said this in my last review. These almost look like, if you were to look at like an old cartoon hand-drawn advertisement of a service boot, how it's like sort of perfect and opulent, almost in a cartoonishly perfect sense. That's what these are. And it's the same for the engineers, right? It's just a perfectly executed pattern, timeless, completely well dialed in. And I actually found out that KB and Rohit, they were actually fans of my YouTube channel. I had no idea of that getting into this, but they took a lot of inspiration from the heritage world. And so for that, I'm deeply grateful to them. And it's deeply honoring to know that I could help someone overseas make informed decisions into their builds. And we went over that in the boot talk as well. And one of the coolest things to me about the whole thing is they wanted their heritage gear not only to be well made and beautiful, but they wanted it to be at an accessible price point for people specifically in India. That's why I'm happy that a lot of the Indian consumer base are buying up this stuff, because if you look at it from their perspective, if they were to say buy a pair of Vibergs, right, $800, and then they probably owe like $150 duties when it gets to the country, just turns into a nightmare. It turns into a big investment. Like Rohit and KB were saying in our boot talk, this stuff should be accessible to be enjoyed no matter your income level, and I do agree. And I told them too, just the way I live my life, I prioritize food first. Like, I'll never eat bad food no matter what, and I'll also never not wear comfortable leather clothing, comfortable heritage clothing. It's encouraging to know that regardless of your income levels, you can acquire items like this and enjoy them and live your life in them, because you know, you spend more time in your boots than you do in your car. You spend more time in your boots than you do in your own house. At least I do. I live in boots. If you're gonna live in something, you might as well make it the best. And that's what Craft and Glory is delivering, not only to the Indian market, but to us here in the States as well. $250 for something like this, which from another maker would run you $700, $800, $1,000, $1,500. And I love those higher tier boots, don't get me wrong. But the fact that they're making them and putting their own particular unique fingerprint on them with this waxed buffalo hide, it just blows my mind, seriously. I've really enjoyed watching what they've been able to accomplish in a short amount of time, and just further exemplifying the fact that they take their heritage brand imagery seriously. You have to look no further than the box itself. This is something I noticed immediately, and I could not believe it came out of India. But Craft and Glory established 2017, and on there you've got a craftsman in his workshop hammering away on a pair of boots with a hand crank stitcher in the background, spools. I mean, we've got a sheriff's badge here. The side has imagery on it. The front, heirloom quality goods. No detail was overlooked. They obsess over the details. That's not just blowing smoke, they really do. If you check out the boot talk, you will see the passion involved. And they're very humble guys. I tried to get KB to reveal his exercise regimen, but he kind of stayed a little tight-lipped on it. My theory is that he's secretly competing in Ironman competitions when he's not making boots. But that's okay. A gentleman doesn't need to reveal all of his secrets, you know. Anyways, with that, I'm going to shut it down. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I want to hear your thoughts on the new Craft and Glory combat boots. Which one's your favorite color? I personally can't get enough of the British saddle tan. And the fact that I have 3 boots in this leather, I'm just gushing with excitement, truly. So anyways, thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see y'all in my next video.